Hi GitKon, my name is Erik Hanchett, and today we're going to talk about spec-driven development. I'm a senior developer advocate at AWS, and this is a topic I love talking about because coding agents really need this, and it's a really neat feature. So let's jump into it. So first, what is spec-driven development? I've heard a lot of people talk about this recently, and a lot of people have different ideas what it is, but I really like this definition. It's a development approach where detailed structured specs or specifications are created before any code is written. So if you've been around the software development space for a while, you may have heard something similar with like the waterfall methods way back in the day where you would create these really detailed design documents and requirements documents before you even jumped into code. Well, it happens to be that coding assistants, AI coding assistants, really like that. They really like having detailed documents, design documents, and requirements documents because it really helps it understand what you're trying to build. And so let me show you how you can do this today. So first, we're going to talk about what are specs. And specs are a part of the definition for our spec-driven development. So let's take a look here. So basically they're the reference to the formal requirements, rules, constraints that govern the creation and behavior of a system. So these are the detailed requirements documents, those design documents that we know and love. I feel like the art of writing requirements documents and design documents have been lost a little bit. Some companies are very good at it. At AWS, we're a very document-driven culture and we write lots of these different requirements documents. However, I've seen a lot of companies don't. And obviously, if you're trying to move fast, writing these documents aren't always possible. But this is where coding assistants are really good at and can really help you with it. So let's take a look at what that would be in detail for. Now, I would have to give a plug here for Kiro. Kiro is a new AI IDE or coding assistant, and it helps you create applications and features. It's built off of VS Code, it has Vibe, and plus it has this very important mode called spec mode. So we have really put a lot of effort into this spec-driven development as being a major feature for our coding, for this Kiro. And we feel like it's really the future of using the AI coding assistants. So let's take a look a little bit more. First, a shout out. Also, if you'd like to try this out today, you can try it out for free at kiro.dev. We just recently went into general availability, so we are open to everyone. We actually released it several months ago, and we got such a huge influx of people wanting to try it. We had to put up a wait list, and then people found a way around the wait list, but it's been a venture. We've heard so many good things about people trying out Kiro, so many positive things, especially people really just love the idea of this spec-driven development. So I'm really happy to talk to you guys about it today in this talk. Now, I have been talking about Kiro a lot the last few minutes, but let's imagine for some reason you aren't using Kiro, and if you're not, why not? But that's okay. You can actually use this spec-driven development with any coding assistant out there, albeit it will be a little different and take a lot more manual steps. But let's take a look and see how that would be done. So first, you need to really prompt your IDE to tell it exactly what you want. So the idea is we're going to create a bunch of different types of markdown files. Each markdown file is going to use the previous markdown file as context to help building upon it until you can really get to that point where users can jump in, or where you can actually start implementing it, or in this case, the coding assistant will implement it. So the first step would be like create a requirements document. So you would give it as much context as you can. Don't worry, I don't expect everyone to create paragraphs and paragraphs of information, but it might be like a high level, hey, I'm creating a task management system. It needs to do X, Y, Z. You put that into the prompt and say, please create me a detailed user requirements document. Then it would create that document, and then you would add it into your context, and you'd say, hey, based on this user requirements document, create a design document. A design document is higher level. It has a little bit more details of what technologies you're going to use. It has probably a diagram or two inside of it, and it's really going to explain how you're going to put this together. I really like design documents that have types in there and interfaces, so I know exactly how it's integrating everything together. And then finally, you're like, okay, based on these two documents you just created, create me a implementation details. Create me a set of task list, a to-do list of things that need to be done based on those two. And then you can prompt your IDE to complete each one by one. And it'll give you a lot of information. And these documents now will be a history of what you've built, which is really nice. You could do it that way, or in Kiro, we have one simple button. We have a panel on the right-hand side. Inside that panel, we have vibe mode, which is the one vibe coding that we all know and love, just asking our coding assistant to do XYZ. However, we can do now spec mode and tell it, no, don't do it XYZ. Let's build a plan beforehand. One really fun thing, and maybe a little funny too, is how thinking about when you're building something, is it a spec or is it a vibe? And it doesn't make sense to make everything a spec, and doesn't make sense to make everything a vibe code everything either. So when I think about spec, I'm thinking about features that take a little bit more thoughtfulness beforehand, something that's a little bit bigger, something you may have gotten from your product manager and they gave you a list of things, that might be a good candidate. Or if you're going in creating a feature and you're just going back and forth with vibe coding, that might be a hint to you that maybe this would have been better as a spec. So anything that needs upfront planning as well. So let's take a look at an example here. Like, build a website to help teach developers how to use my LMS. And so that could be a good spec. That could be a good starting point for a spec. Now, you probably want to put a little bit more detail in there, but from that, AI is really good at just taking very small prompts and creating very interesting outputs from it. So in this case, it would create this requirements document. So it's 3 parts. These are 3 phases. Starts with the requirements phase, and it creates an introduction, a list of requirements, and acceptance criteria. I prefer the user story acceptance criteria way of creating requirements documents. You may have a different way you like requirements documents. This is what it defaults to in Kiro. It's a lot of information, but it's great. I'd also go through this and maybe delete a requirement if it didn't make sense, or make some updates, because I think that would help as well. Then from there, after you say, hey, this looks good, it builds a design document. You can see even here in this example, we have these a little bit of ASCII art of MCP client, movie MCP, how the system is going to work. It also creates mermaid diagrams too. This is all Markdown. And then I have to go through here, double check it, make sure it has the correct technologies, everything I want. And then I would take a pause here because the implementation step's next, but I would once again double check both documents for inconsistencies, hallucinations, errors. It's pretty good, honestly, especially if you use something like Kiro, but you definitely want to double check to it. So this isn't a one shot, you're done. It's iteration. It's you looking over the documents, you making updates, you making changes, and making sure it's what you want. And then finally, you get a task list or the implementation details. And you can see in here, it's very structured in Kiro. You can have this however you like. Like, you have each individual task. Sometimes you have subtasks to that task. You have requirements it's looking for. And you create a new directory structure for the MCP server implementation. This is kind of some of the steps I see in here. Use a Python virtual environment, blah, blah, blah. So it's very detailed. Also, with our new property-based testing, that's something that recently came out with our GA release, our general availability release. You would also include these tests in here, and the tests would help test against the requirements itself. And it also helps test multiple times. So it'll use some random data to make sure that the different parts of your app actually act the way they're supposed to. And I'll show you an example of that in a second. Another great way you can think about this, a good tip, if you're using Kiro or not, is use MCP. That's your Model Context Protocol. I use something like Context 7 is one of my favorite MCP servers, but it has some great docs in there. So what I tell it to is, hey, while you're building my specs, can you actually check our project management service? So if I'm using Jira or something else, pull information from the project management system and add it to the spec. So you can even use that to help like create those requirements. You can also grab technical details. So if you're using something like Contact 7, like maybe it's using Tailwind, and it's using the latest version of Tailwind. You want to make sure that your design is using the latest version of Tailwind. And sometimes some large language models might be a little bit out of date. So you can create what are called rules files or steering files in Kiro and say, hey, yes, always make sure you pull from our project management system using MCP. Always pull from Contact 7. That way, as it's building the specs, it'll be closer to what you're actually looking at to do. Let's take a look at a demo. So I'm just gonna open up Kiro. And here is Kiro right here. So this is a task management, just a simple, almost a few steps above a to-do app that I was playing around with. And you can see right here, I have vibe and spec mode. And I went through it and I created some specs. Now it creates a .kiro folder in the root of your project. And you can take a look at what it did here. So here is the spec mode. And here is the design. Here's the requirements. Here's the first thing it did. So this looks kind of like those screenshots I just showed you. Introduction, glossary, has a bunch of requirements. I actually had an additional requirement 8, which I thought wasn't needed. So I told Kiro as I was going through the spec mode to delete it. And then here is the design. This has just some ASCII boxes in here. Sometimes it creates a mermaid design, but that's fine. But you can see here, very specific about what technologies we're going to use. We're using Vue. This is a Nuxt app, so I wanted to make sure it's using Nuxt UI, it's using the latest version of Vue, it's using Postgres, one of my favorite databases, of course Zod, and it just has a lot of details. It has details of every single endpoint. If you know Nuxt, it's a meta framework for Vue. You can actually have server routes on it, and it has detailed server routes, even has schemas for the database layer, and interfaces. So this is exactly what I would expect from a coding assistant. If I created my own design document, I'd probably put some of these things in it. I could also just copy and paste. If someone in my team has already created a design document, I could have put it in here, but it's nice that this created it all for me. And then of course it created this task list, which then I have already completed. I went through it and had it complete each one by one, almost all of them. Nice thing too is I can click the view changes here. I can see it's completed. And if I want to see exactly what it did. Now these property-based tests here are really nice. So these property-based tests, you can see a couple of them here in this file. Let's look at this index post test file. So what this does is it uses this library called fastcheck. And it does a bunch of assertions. But you can see here, it's checking minimum lengths, maximum lengths, essentially the unit tests that you all love, but it's really making sure what we had in the requirements documents is correct. And it's also, in some of these, it runs it multiple times. So you can see num runs 100. So it runs it multiple times to make sure it thoroughly tests this feature. In this case, this persistence create task exists in database. So very helpful, very nice to use. And it does that everywhere with these property-based tests. I also have it, if you look in here, this is the little Kiro button. Here is all different parts of it. My face is actually blocking, but there is an area here where it has MCP servers, which is where I would set my MCP servers. A nice thing too, I haven't showed this out, but we have agent hooks. So you could have every time a process ends, or every time you save a file, it does something. So like a common one is like create a test every time you finish a component. So every time it saves components, it will create a unit test for it. You can do things like that. And then I can also have multiple specs. So this is just one for task management, but let's say later on I want to add in a real-time chat. So I can go back in, create another spec by just going to spec mode here, prompting it, and then create another one. So I found when I've used this, I just did this recently for my son. He's a big chess fan. I wanted to create in vibe code and use spec mode to create a chess game. And it was really thorough. Like it went through every single possible move for each chess piece. It created a test for each individual chess piece. It had a lot of information in there. And I was able to just go through, just like I'm showing you here with that design requirements document, deleting things, and then finally going to the tasks and then having implement them all. So it was really nice. All right. If you like to learn more about Kiro, shout out to Kiro.dev. You can try it now for free. Also, if you just like, we have our own community. If you like this idea of spec-driven development, there is lots of different ways you can do spec-driven development with different tools. There's some open source tools, but you can also just go to discord.gg/Kiro.dev. You don't even have to have Kiro if you like that. If you just want to talk about spec-driven development, you can jump into our Discord server. We have many, many people on there. Like I said, this whole movement of spec-driven development has really blown up, and I'm really excited that Kiro is right in the middle of it. So thanks everybody. I love to talk to people that are interested in this space, especially AI agents, coding assistants. So follow me at Erik Hanchett on LinkedIn, add me. Also, you can follow me on X and Blue Sky at Erik CH. Thanks. I appreciate it, everybody.